the price of admission is showing up. Do I want to sit there and did I want to get on Instagram and post selfies and post these really vulnerable things? No, I really didn't. But did I want to build a business? Yeah, I really wanted to build a business. I wanted that more than I was afraid of doing these things, afraid of showing up.
Big fucking dreams. All right then. You got this.
Hey, big fucking dreamers. So pumped to be here with you today. And today we are going to talk about something that I get questions on quite a bit. So a lot of times in my work, what I really do is I help ambitious professionals move toward careers that they really thrive in. And I'm really specialized also in career transitions, but that could look very different for different people. So that could really look like a promotion. That could really look like leaving corporate to go into entrepreneurship. That could actually even look like taking less time to focus on your family and to not feel shame and guilt about it, to feel really confident in terms of taking a step back from work, maybe taking a lateral move. But today, what we're really going to focus on is the people that want to transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. So obviously, this is something that I have successfully done, having been at LinkedIn for 7 years and worked in corporate for the majority of my career and transitioned into starting my own business, which of course, Big Fucking Dreams is part of. And here I'm going to go through the 3 things that I see that people absolutely need in order to do this successfully. I've seen people also start their own businesses and be really successful with it. I've seen people then transition back into corporate. One client I had started her own business, transitioned back into corporate, and then she's gone into entrepreneurship again because she's just realized that this is the right thing for her. So there are 3 distinct things that people really need, and they are a rock solid mindset and a belief that you can do this. The second thing is financial means to cover you for at least a year. And then the third thing is willingness to put yourself out there and be embarrassed, because that is also a huge point. So I'm going to go through and take you through all 3 of these. But this is going to be a great episode if you are potentially thinking of going out on your own. You've had an idea that you really want to accomplish. You're not really sure if you can do it. You're not really sure that you can successfully leave corporate or make money on your own, and you've got a lot of fear and doubt coming up, but you really want the confidence to be able to. So this is going to be very helpful. I have helped a lot of people successfully make this transition as well, the majority of which have gone through my program, the Life and Work Transformation. The episode with Lindsay Zoney, my client as well, that was a really great one to listen to if you haven't listened to that. And that was all about the mindset and belief work that she did in order to get her to be the CEO of the business, The Growth Option. So I highly recommend going back to that episode a few episodes ago and listening to it. And so now we are just going to get right into it. So the first thing is, the mindset that, first of all, you are enough and that you can actually do this, and the ability and the resilience. So a huge predictor of success and a likelihood of success is the thought pattern that you actually can succeed. It's so interesting because a lot of people almost shit on this because they think this is positive psychology or self-help, but there is actually now a really wide growing body of research that says a huge predictor of resilience and a huge predictor of success is your belief that you actually can. And I think for me, I remember I met with a financial advisor a few years back, and this is when I was about to start my own business. And he was looking at my salary and he was like, well, you're making really good money now. There's a chance that it's going to dip. What if it never gets back there? And I was like, well, no, I make great money now. Why wouldn't I be able to make great money in my business? The determining factor is me. And my belief system was so rock solid around that I knew that I am fully smart, fully confident, fully capable. So if you have a history of achieving great things, really looking at that as evidence. However, on the flip side, if you have parts of yourselves that are telling you that you're not enough, that you're stupid, that you can't do this, that 100% needs to be resolved, because entrepreneurship can be really scary. That's the truth, especially if you're fully supporting yourself. You don't have a second income coming in. So entrepreneurship can be extremely scary, and you don't want these voices to come in and sabotage you. So if you've got these going on, then really you should be joining my program, because this is exactly what we address. But it's also imperative that you don't go into entrepreneurship with that mindset, because that is what is going to hold you back. And I often think that in corporate, other people hold you back. It's other people telling you no. Whereas in entrepreneurship, it's you holding yourself back. It's you telling yourself no. It's you not making that phone call. It's you not pitching your services. It's you not putting yourself there on social media. So you don't want those voices and those parts of you to be absolutely running it. It's extremely important in entrepreneurship as well, actually having a growth mindset. And a lot of this is based on Carol Dweck's research, which basically says that intelligence, it's not fixed. It's not that you either have it or you don't, that you can actually learn things. So Microsoft, the whole ethos of Microsoft is built on growth mindset, where if you don't know something, then how do you learn it? You don't know it yet. How can you learn it in the future? What are the skills you can acquire? Versus someone with a very fixed mindset just thinks that capability and intelligence are black and white. People are either capable or there's not. There's not a lot of growth. There's not a lot of development there. It's either I've got this or I don't. And in entrepreneurship, there is such a big skills gap usually, because especially if you've gone from corporate, maybe you're in sales, or maybe you're in customer success, or maybe you're in operations. But in entrepreneurship, you have to learn how to do so many different things. You have to learn how to be an accountant. You have to learn how to design a website. You have to learn how to deliver a great client program. You have to have a great value proposition. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So if you don't have a mindset which says, I'm able to learn things, I'm able to understand things, I can try things, I can fail, but I can also get the help and I can acquire these skills. Like, it's actually not that fucking hard. Like, if you're a smart, capable person, you just have to figure out the skills that you need and then go and acquire these skills. But if you've got that mindset that says you're not enough, you're stupid, that's the most difficult thing. So that's actually what you need to solve. In my free career confidence course, so it's in the show notes, I do have a module specifically on growth mindset and Carol Dweck's work. So I highly recommend that if you're making this transition right now, you access that course. It's totally free. The link's right there in the show notes. But I give you modules and worksheets on how to address this. So that is you need a rock solid mindset in order to take these first few steps. The second thing that you need, and this is not something that people really talk about, but you actually need a really big financial runway. So you need a financial runway of about a year. And I would say if you're going into business, you need to think, can I survive with zero income for 1 year? Do I have all of my expenses covered? Now, there's actually a lot of groundwork that goes into this, which is you have to actually know what your expenses are. You need to know what your fixed costs are, your mortgage or your rent, all your insurances, like anything, like your food, your groceries, anything that you absolutely need to live. Then you need to understand what your discretionary spend is. So how much do you spend on, non-essential clothing items? How much do you spend on travel? How much do you spend on fun activities? And you need a very clear picture of that, because you need to know how much money you need to live on, and that's after tax. Like, do you have enough money to survive on? Because you don't want to be going into this next phase of life super scared that you can't survive. If we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you don't have your fundamental needs met, which is like clothing, shelter, safety, and you're afraid that those are going to be taken away, that is not a place to start a business from. So you need 1 year's worth of income. First, you need to understand, what is that income? Then, do I have that year's worth of income? If not, can you get a job that's maybe a bit less demanding so that you can still have income coming in while you are building a business? A lot of times, especially with a lot of the people that I coach, building a business on the side while working in corporate, it's usually not possible, because if your job is extremely demanding, entrepreneurship is also very demanding. So you're going to need all of your brain power. So is there another job that you can take that's almost like a B job that can give you income, but just give you some stability to cover all your fixed costs while you then build this business? And this is something that, not a lot of people talk about, because it can be, money can be uncomfortable for some people. I love talking about money. I love talking about personal finance. I feel like it's kind of one of my side passions that I don't really publicize a lot, but I'm extremely diligent with my money. I know my P&L from the back of my hand. I know how much money I spend each month. I know exactly what my fixed costs are. I know exactly my net worth. I look at my net worth monthly, look at all of my different accounts, whether that's retirement, investment, savings, like all of that is dialed in. And as a result of that, I run a highly profitable business. My business runs at around 85% profit, which is incredible. And I really want to continue to run a very high profit business, but that starts with the diligence of knowing and understanding where you sit financially. And do not take this risk if you don't understand where you sit financially. And also, I mean, certain people have a different type of tolerance. I did not want to go into debt. So it was very important to me for not going into any type of debt and starting my business. I had the financial means. That also being said, there are different stages of life where going into entrepreneurship is easier. And my financial advisor actually, I don't see a financial advisor anymore. I took that personal finance into my own hands. But when I was seeing him, something that he said to me was there are certain periods of life where it is a lot easier. And that's not to say that you can't do these things in other periods of life. But when I started my business, first of all, I was single. So I had no partner. I was renting. I didn't have high overheads at all. It was just, me and my baby Apollo that I was taking care of. And then also, I didn't have children. So there wasn't a big responsibility. I had a lot of money saved up from Microsoft stock, and my financial position was very strong. I knew that I could dip into that, and I did dip into that. And, I also watched at the same time that I was doing this that a lot of my peers and colleagues started buying properties. Like they were buying apartments in Bondi, they were buying investment properties. And I wasn't able to do that, which I had a lot of feeling. I had a bit of FOMO of like, I should be building my wealth in different ways. And I wasn't able to do that because a bank wouldn't finance me because I didn't have consistent income from my business yet. I think a bank needs around 2 years to look at your income to finance you. And it has to be of a certain level, obviously, because they don't want that risk. But this was a time in my life where I decided I knew what season I was in. I was also going back to school for creative writing at this time, but I knew like this was the season of life that I wanted to build. And now I'm so happy I took that risk when I did, because also the longer that you wait for this, if you know you want to go into entrepreneurship, the longer that you wait for this, the longer you're going to be delaying your success. So for me, I think I'm trying to think, I'm like, how old am I now? It's probably like 31 when I started. And I wish I had even started earlier, to tell you the truth. I had this passion, I had this drive I couldn't have because I didn't actually even know entrepreneurship was on the cards for me. But I knew that this was what I really wanted to do. So the longer I was sitting there, at a tech company that I didn't really want to be at, like wasting that time when I could have been building my business, there's a huge opportunity cost there. So the period of life that you're in, the season of life, understanding your overheads as well. I'm so happy that I did it when I did, because now I have a really consistent business. Now I've built this thriving business, but that can allow me to go into the next season of life. But if I was sitting here thinking, okay, I've got young children or I'm about to have children, it's not really a great time because there's too much stress, there's too much overhead, there's too much uncertainty. And that's not to say that you can't do this, but really look at what season of life are you in, and also what's your risk tolerance and risk appetite. If right now you find yourself and you're like, actually, I do want to get married and I do want to have children, but right now I have no partner. That seems a far way off from me, but I do really want to start a business. Knowing that this is probably a really great time to actually do that. And then the third thing is courage. And this is, the cost of admission in the game of entrepreneurship is like showing up and looking stupid and really being like, okay with embarrassing yourself. And so many people think, what are my colleagues going to think? What are my old clients going to think? What are my friends from high school going to think? Whatever bullshit we tell ourselves. But the price of admission is showing up. Do I want to sit there and did I want to get on Instagram and post selfies and post these really vulnerable things? No, I really didn't. But did I want to build a business? Yeah, I really wanted to build a business. I wanted that more than I was afraid of doing these things, afraid of showing up. So you have to really go into it with the mindset of, you're likely going to feel shame. You're likely going to feel embarrassment. You're likely going to be afraid of looking stupid. You probably will look stupid, but that's okay. that is actually your like risk tolerance and your appetite for it gets stronger and stronger. I mean, now sometimes I still do have a little bit of like getting ick sometimes from the stuff that I put on LinkedIn, or even like I looked at a post last week and I was like, oh, that really wasn't great. But I put myself out there and I am so proud of myself. And the identity that I have, which is rock solid, is I am a person who likes to do very challenging, difficult things. I know that about myself. I also have the identity that I like to do things that a lot of people can't do, that a lot of people don't have the risk appetite for. And I believe in myself and back myself. And that's what I care more about. So it's really hinging on the identity that you want to create. What are the actions that you put in, and having that be bigger than your fear of looking fucking stupid? Because chances are like you're going to, and that's okay, but that's how you learn, that's how you grow. Again, this comes back to step 1, which is growth mindset. You have to do this in order to get the gold. There's no escaping it. And something really good for this as well is being in community with other people that are doing it. So if you only know people who are in corporate, get in a business group coaching program, go like to an entrepreneurs club, like be around people that your activity is really normalized, because you're going to think that it's quite strange. And I didn't know any entrepreneurs when I first started this, and I had to be getting in those rooms, getting in those circles. I joined a business group coaching program. That was like something that really helped me do it. So in summary, if you want to really make this transition, you're going to need 3 things. 1, an absolute rock solid growth mindset, the ability to believe that you can really do this. All of your parts need to be on board, all the different parts of you. If there are parts that are self-sabotaging and telling you you're dumb, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you have to sort that out first. That is definitely step 1. Step 2, do you have the financial means to do this? Do you also understand what season of life you're in? Is this a good season of life to be starting a business? How much risk tolerance do you have? But do you have 1 year's worth of income that you have at your disposal before you take this huge step? And you may need to sell off stock. Maybe you need to sell off an investment property. Is that worth the risk to you? And then the third is courage. And the courage to fail, the courage to do things in public, the courage to look stupid, but the ability that you know that it's absolutely worth it because your identity hinges on the ability to do hard things. And also, you want it more than your fear. You want this big outcome, like in a way that you're willing to do it more than you're willing to be afraid. So having that real faith and trust that you can do it. So big fucking dreamers, I would love to hear from you. If this was helpful, get that free career confidence mini course. It's really good if you're going through this transition, especially the module on growth mindset. There's also a module on the different parts of us that show up when we are scared, when we are afraid. And I give you a method to work through that. So my big fucking dreamers, I will see you next week.
Big fucking dream.